In this video walkthrough, you're going to learn how to build your own Power Apps app from a blank canvas. In the previous lesson, you learned how to build an app from data, where you showed Power Apps an Excel file, you chose a table, and then it created a 3-screen app for you, like shown on the screen here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to use that app that was pre-created for you, and we're going to rebuild that same app, but talk about how to do it piece by piece from a blank canvas, and this will help you learn. Taking one of these templated apps and deconstructing how it works is a great way for you to learn more Power Apps skills and understand how things are better connected. So to get started, over here on my OneDrive, I've got 2 copies of the same Excel spreadsheet that you downloaded from the previous lesson, and I just changed the name of one, so that way I'm not trying to have 2 apps share the same Excel file and cause any confusion. And so then over here, I'm going to go to the Power Apps home screen, I'm going to go to Apps, and I'm going to say Create an App, and I'm going to choose Canvas. And so then here what I want to do is I want to do a blank app and a phone layout, right? Previously you'd done a OneDrive for Business, and that was where the app was auto-generated. This time around we're going to do a phone layout, but a blank app, so that way you can actually build and connect all the pieces to yourself. So after a couple of seconds, you're brought back to the Power Apps Studio where you can start to build. And so the first component that we need is we need to insert, so we're going to go to the Insert tab, and a gallery. We're going to do a vertical gallery. There's different galleries with different styles and different default layouts, and you can kind of choose through those as you want. So I'm going to just take this gallery and resize it a little bit. And so then over here on the right for select a data source, we're going to choose Add a Data Source. And you already have a connection for OneDrive for Business if you did the previous module, or if not, you can click on New Connection and choose OneDrive for Business. I'm going to choose OneDrive for Business. This will show me all the Excel files that are available. And so Flooring Estimates Demo, that's one I built for the example app off, so I will use Flooring Estimates here. And then now I see the tables, and there's just one, so Flooring Estimates, and we'll say Connect. And so after a moment, you can see we kind of have the beginnings of what we had on the previous app, right? So if we switch over to the previous app that was generated from data for us, we can see that we had 3 different fields here, but kind of the same image look. So then over here on the right under layouts, there's actually an additional layout called Image, Title, Subtitle, and Body. And if we choose that, we'll see that Power Apps chooses for us which columns are displayed, and it actually chose the right ones. If it hadn't, we could have clicked on Fields and Edit, and then we could manually change any of these fields. So we could change Subtitle to be Price, and we would be able to do that. But we're not going to do that because we want to kind of stick with the same look and feel as the previous apps. We can see how that works. All right, so that looks good. And so then up at the top, they have a header bar. And so for those type of visuals, typically what you'll use is a rectangle. And so on the icons list, if we scroll to the bottom right here, there's a rectangle. And this is a very common problem. So see how all of a sudden I got a whole bunch of rectangles? This is because I'm still inside the gallery control. So it put it in the gallery and it's going to be repeated. So I'm going to delete that. And then this time I'm going to make sure that I'm clicked on the screen, so outside the gallery, and then do icons, and then we will choose a rectangle. And so now we're going to put this up here at the top and resize it so that it fits. And now notice here we've got a blue, and over here we had a blue. So just to avoid confusion of both apps, what we're going to do is we want to set this app to be a different color set. So we could change the color of this manually. We click on the icon and we go over here to the home screen, and we can choose the color picker here and choose a color. Or we can take advantage of themes. So here on the home screen theme, we could choose a different theme. And so in this case, let's just choose the red. And so then now what we'll see is this is the new app we're building manually. And then this is the app that we have built automatically from data. Make it a little easier for you guys to kind of keep up as we kind of switch back and forth here. All right, so then back over here on our app. So then the other thing we needed was some text. And so we'll go up here, we'll insert a label. And we will change that. So we'll go to the home screen. Maybe we'll set the color to be the theme color. And then we'll set the size to be more like a 36. And so then we'll call this our Flooring Estimate app. So we'll go over here to the text and we'll say Flooring Estimate app. Just like so. And so now we have a nice little interface. Oh, kind of bring that down. There you go. That looks nice. And if we switch over here, you know, we can see we're kind of keeping up with what's going on. Great. So this gets us a gallery that is showing us all of the records from our Excel file. Right, if we do the preview now, we can see we can scroll through, and this is one record or one line for every file in our Excel. Perfect. Now, over here on this app, you can see they have a bunch of additional buttons. And so one is this search bar. And so if you click on the search bar, you'll actually see this is just a text input. And so then the functionality for this is if you click in here, you'll see that when you enter something as text input, it's actually feeding into a items property for the gallery. And that's what's causing the search behavior to happen, right? So if we go in here and type in search items, we type in carpet, we only see now just the ones that are tagged as carpet. And if we clear that out, then it goes right back to that. So that search functionality is made up of the items property here, and really all the search is an input. So this is an example of one that I want you guys to go and work your way through this formula for the gallery and recreate this yourself. So I'm not going to walk you through this one, but this is a great example of a chance for you to learn, because here you get to learn about the search function, the sort by columns function, and then you also have an if statement and this sort descending. And so this sort descending one, this is actually a variable that is set by clicking on this icon. So I want you to walk through and figure out those components to set up your own or recreate your own search experience over here in this app. We're not going to do that for right now. So the next thing we want to do here is we want to create a screen to view the details about a chosen item. So up here at the top, I'm going to say new screen, that's blank. And I'm going to go ahead and rename my screen to make this easier. And so we're going to call this detail screen. Right? And so to re-click, you need to double click here, or if you click on it, you can click the ellipses and then you can say rename. So, and one of the things you want to get in the habit of is renaming all the controls that you're going to reference, because detail screen means a lot more to me than screen 2 does. So I might go back to screen 1 here and rename this and call this welcome screen. And so then now when I'm working through functions like navigate, where I need to reference the screen names will be a lot easier for me to follow. Okay, so over here on the details screen, if we remember on this app, right, if we click on one of these records, I'm gonna hold on the Alt key so I can click the arrow, and we'll do this for this carpet right here. So you can see that we have all the information in a view capacity. So back over on this app, what we're gonna do is they're actually using a form control. So we're gonna say insert forms, and we're going to use an edit form and kind of pull it down a little bit so it fits, something like that. And so for data source, we're going to use our same flooring estimates. We can just choose that. And then for what fields do we want to show, we can click on edit fields. And then we're going to click add field. And so then we're going to just go ahead and add all of the fields right now. Now you could pick and choose, you don't have to add them, but we're just going to add all of them. And it's also worth noting you could rearrange these. So for example, if you want them to move the price above overview, I can click on price and I can just drag it up. And so then now Power Apps will take care of visually moving those objects for me. So I'm also going to make this just slightly bigger to get rid of that scroll bar. Awesome. So that is connected to the data source, but you notice we're not seeing any data. And we want to see the information from the previous gallery, the item you selected. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on data source. And then we're going to click on item. And so the item property is going to be gallery 1. That's the gallery from the previous screen, dot selected. And then just like that, you have the information of the gallery item that's been selected. And once again, gallery 1 didn't make a lot of sense. So what I would have preferred to have done is go over here to the welcome screen and change this to be, carpet or gallery all items, something like that. And so then now that it's got a more meaningful name to me, right, you'll notice that Power Apps very politely went ahead and updated this to gallery all items dot selected. But now it makes my connections, my logic make a lot more sense when I'm trying to understand where this data is coming from. So that looks great. You'll also notice though, if we go into play mode right now, you can edit these. Oh, but we can't really save those. And we didn't want this to be an edit experience. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the form itself. And so its default mode right now is edit. That's what's allowing me to make edits. So I'm going to change its default mode to view. And so then now it is in a view mode, just like on the previous screen. I think we also probably want to get that same type of header up here at the top. So if you go to welcome screen, what we can do, we can actually come over here. We're going to click on both the label. I'm going to hold down the control key and click on the rectangle. So I have both selected. I'm going to hit Control C. Right, so the Control C combo lets me copy that. If we go to the detail screen and hit Control V, And I'm very specific about pressing Control C and Control V because you can't right click copy and paste the same way, but you can use Control C in a lot of these cases. But so now we have the same thing over here, and then maybe we'll just change this label from Flooring Estimate App to Item Details, like that. And so then now we have kind of a nice little feel here. If we switch over to this app, you'll notice there's also this little back arrow that navigates to the previous screen. Okay, we can do that. So over here, we're going to go to Icons, and we're going to scroll down a little bit, and we'll use a different back icon. We'll be crazy. We'll pull that over here. I'll grab the item details and just move it out of the way a little bit. And so for this one, for the onSelect function or formula, we're going to use Navigate. That is a function for moving between screens. So Navigate. Notice the naming my screens makes this super easy. I want to navigate to the welcome screen. If it said screen 1 or screen 2, that would have been confusing. So navigate to the welcome screen, do a comma, and then you have different transitions. What does it look like when you move? Do you want to do a cover, a fade, a none, or an uncover down at the bottom? I'm just going to press the down arrow to choose cover and then close my parentheses. So that sets up this button. The onSelect means when the person clicks this button, do this. And before we leave, also, I'm going to go over here to the Home tab real quick, and I'm going to change its color to be the theme color, like that, so it looks a little nicer. So if we hit play to preview, we jump over here, and now we're back to this screen. And now I want to make it so if I click one of these arrows, I go to the next screen. So how would we do that? Well, it's very similar to what we just did. So I'm going to click on this arrow. OnSelect right now is just select parent, which just means select the object. Doesn't really do anything. So I'm going to delete that out, and I'm going to say if they click on this, I want to navigate to the details screen, and I'm going to choose that cover again, so my app kind of has this consistent feel. So then now if we go, let's click on this Bolivian rosewood. It looks very nice. Click on that. It takes us to the screen, and we're seeing our information. Perfect. I can't edit any of these records, right, because they're all in view. And if we click on the item details, the little back arrow up here, we go back and we can choose a different one. So we can move back and forth between screens and modify what the user sees. Awesome. Our app is moving right along. So let's just jump back over there again. We'll use the Ageless Beauty Clay with the X. And so if we go over here to this screen, now notice on this app that if up here at the top I have a delete icon, right? So this is going to remove it. So this is not something we'll set up here, but I wanted you guys to see it because this is functionality that you can break down the functions that they're using once again and recreate this functionality in your app. And they also have a second item up here for Edit Pencil. And so here you can see that it's going to run some functions, but if we click on it, it takes us to a view of the screen where we can edit it. All right, so let's recreate that. And notice they did this as 3 different screens, right? So there is a browse screen, the detail screen we just left, and the edit screen for editing content. So let's go over here. We'll minimize this and we'll say another new screen. We're going to change this one. We'll call it the edit screen. Seems like a reasonable name. And so over here, what we can do is we could add our form and start to put all that back together. But remember, that took a little bit of clicking. So what I might do is I might just come back over here and grab this one. So I'm going to click on Form 1. I'm going to hit Control C again. We'll switch back to the edit screen. We will paste that in. So then that way it's already hooked up. Awesome. But then now for the default mode for this one, I do want it to be in edit, right? I want to be able to edit the item when I get over here. So we'll do just like that. That seems like a right thing. We need our bar at the top again. So we will copy the label and the rectangle. So Control C. And then go over here and paste those in. Kind of pull those back to the top. And so instead of item details, what we're going to have here is edit the item. Something like that. That looks good. And if we look over here, so they didn't use our fancy titles. That's okay. But so they have a button up here for reset the form and go back. So, right, what does that do? That's going to undo any of your changes, like a cancel button if you think about it. And then over here also what we have is a submit form. So one of the great things about forms is that if you submit the form, it will go ahead and write your form back to the data source with all your changes without us having to write a bunch of code. So we're going to say insert an icon up here. Instead of that little check mark they use, we're going to get fancy. We're going to use a save icon, right? Who doesn't like the little diskette looking thing? And so what we want to do here is we're going to say on select, submit form. And now see this form 1 underscore 1. Ugh, I don't know what that means. So I'm going to go over here to form 1 and I'm going to call this, edit item form. So I renamed the form. So then now if I go up here, submit form, and then edit item form, right? And then close that out. So that just makes it read easier. You don't have to rename these controls, but it makes your life a lot easier later when you're trying to figure out what happens here. And then we're going to change our colors, and we're going to change this back to the theme color. So it looks that theme color. So it looks a little nicer. All right, looks great. And so then now if we click on play and we say, all right, instead of price of $1.98, it's how about $2.05? And we say save. So see the little ants, little dots going across the top? That's a good indication that something was happening. Power Apps was writing data. So it saved our results, but it made a weird user experience because it doesn't go anywhere. So instead of going to this button and saying, all right, I want to change your on select property, right? Because it's on select right now, it's just submit the form. What we can take advantage of is if you click on the form, there's actually a special property called on success. So there's on failures, on resets, but on success is what we need in this case. We're going to say, all right, well, when you successfully submit, what I want to do is I want to navigate, and we're going to just navigate back to the welcome screen. Navigate to the welcome screen, screen transition.cover, easy for me to say. And so that looks like the right option. So now if we go in here and do play and say, all right, your price is now $2.12. Man, this stuff keeps going up. You should buy soon. And we hit save. It's going to save our data. And then it brings us back to this screen. And so if we click on Ageless Beauty Clay, we can see that the price is $2.12. So we successfully saved our data and navigated to where we needed to. Great. Okay, so that gets us through the functionality, right? We could do the same thing for this button, but I'm going to leave that to you guys to learn and explore. So on the details screen, I feel like we covered all of this, right? We have the icon for going backwards. We talked about you guys adding your own remove, and then the edit, which is what took us to the previous screen. Or did we add the edit? That's a great question. Let's double check ourselves. We did not. All right, well, let's add the edit then. So what are we going to do? We're going to insert another icon. And I keep using icons because I think they make a nice small interface, but you could be inserting buttons just the same way. And the on select property is the same for the buttons. So all the code would be the same if you were using buttons. We're just using icons like buttons. So what does this button need to do? Well, first, what it needs to do for us, it's going to do two things. The first thing is it needs to put our form into an edit mode, right? If we go over here and look at their formula. So with forms, they have different modes. They have a new mode, a display mode, and an edit mode. And so we want to edit this record. So we're going to say put the form into edit mode. So use edit form function in our form name. Semicolon then says, all right, I'm done with that formula. Do another formula. And so that other formula, we're going to navigate over to the screen that we're changing. So what would we do in our app? We would say we want to use the edit form function. What form do we want to edit? Well, good thing we renamed it. We want to edit the edit item form. And then once we're done with that, we're going to do a semicolon, which means move to another one. And then we are going to say, I want to navigate to the edit screen, and we're going to use a cover. We're also going to change our color here, just like that. And so I think that looks good. Well, let's just check our on select one more time. The other thing I'll remind you is if you are in a region where you use a comma for a decimal separator, then instead of this comma right, or instead of the semicolon here, you would actually have two semicolons. And instead of this comma right here, you would have one semicolon. So your formulas are slightly different if you're in a region where your decimal separator is a comma instead of a period, right? So let's click on that button. So we'll say play, click the button. All right, awesome. We can edit. And so this is where it would be nice if you had added the cancel button so I could go back, but I've not added the cancel button. So I'll just X out and we'll jump back over here. All right, and so then I think last but not least, let's look at the home screen here. So then they also up here, they have a button for refreshing the data source. So pretty straightforward. You can go explore how that works. This button I told you was part of that search solution that I'm leaving you on your own to break down and figure, right? And then last but not least is the on select for the new form navigate. So how the edit pencil before put the form into edit mode, which let us edit an existing record, new form would put that form into a mode where if you add or type data and submit your form, it would create a new record in your data source. So let's copy that out, or let's not copy that out. Let's go over here to our app and let's build that ourselves. We're going to say insert an icon. We'll just do the little add icon. We'll pull it over here. And so we would do the same thing, right? We'd say new form, edit item form, and oh, not a comma. Then we'd close that. We'd do our semicolon, and then we'd say navigate to our edit screen, and we'll continue just to use the cover transition. Remember, Power Apps formulas are case sensitive. That's why I like to press down and enter to grab the correct object instead of typing in all that stuff. Save yourself all the challenges of that. Go over to home real quick, set our color. And I think that looks good. So if we hit plus now we could make a new item. Right? It says categories carpet. And we won't have an image. We'll just say new item because all these fields are optional in our data source. So we'll say save. And so you see the ants marching. It takes us over here. And at the bottom of our list, we should now see carpet new item. And there is the data that we entered. And so then we could come in, we could edit the record and, say, oh yeah, I know the price for that one is $232 and overview. So new, it doesn't have pictures. Just like that. And so save. And look at that. Just like that, the data is updating. All right. So I think that's enough for this overview. That has gotten you guys where you can start to build your apps. But remember, one of the great things you can do is if you can find an app that works and does things that you like, you can go and walk through and just map these back and forth one-to-one and figure out how they did it. And if you can reconstruct it by yourself from a blank canvas, you're going to be a long way down the path to learning and being really awesome at Power Apps. So thanks and have a great day.